What's up, y'all? Down to the artist. I know, it's a little bit of a new look, might take some getting used to, but as most things do, as we grow up, we need to change. We need to evolve. And today, I want to talk about a big evolution in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Ladies and gentlemen, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, the end of an era. Growing up in a moderately middle-class household, we were lucky to have some, at the time, what were considered modern consoles. Obviously, as you guys know at this point, I grew up with the GameCube, I grew up with the Wii, but I never really reached the landscape of the Xbox 360 and PS3, the higher-end, higher-price consoles. However, with the Wii titles, I would end up being a little bit disappointed with games like Sonic and the Secret Rings and Sonic and the Black Knight, as they were pretty big departures from what I grew up with being, well, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle and Sonic Heroes. The Dreamcast era, as it were, seemed to have been coming to an end. But what I didn't realize was it had one last swan song, more like a crow song. It was not well regarded, and that was, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. What was supposed to be a reboot of sorts, with it being the 15th anniversary. Pretty quick for a reboot, but I mean, some mascots did it faster. Of course, as I talked about in my Sonic Adventure 2 retrospective, please go check that out. It's a big one. Put a lot of time into that. It was my birthday, so you know, birthday present. I, as many others, really wanted that adventure formula. I wanted the fabled Adventure 3. But alas, we never really got it. See, you gotta understand, I grew up in middle of nowhere, Saskatchewan. For the longest time, we didn't even have internet, all right? We had a GameCube, Melee, my Game Boy Advance. So when winter 2006 came around, I was in grade 2. Some of y'all weren't even born yet. At this point, we had internet, but we did not have what were the modern consoles of that time. So when promotional material for Sonic 06 was coming around, I actually do remember seeing it both on the internet and on TV, and just thinking like, wow, this is it. The greatest scale Sonic yet. And a third Hedgehog being silver? What else would they think of? This seemed too good to be true. This really did feel like the successor to Sonic Adventure 2. The first time I ever saw the game in action was in 2007. We were staying by some family friends, and we ended up going to a neighboring city where their cousin happened to have the game and was playing it. And I remember wanting to play it, and they said no. Nah, go figure. It was awesome. He was playing a level as Sonic, just running around. And I was thinking this looked so much better than Adventure 2. About a year later, I think in grade 3, we went to that same family friend's house for a visit of some sort. And that same cousin was still there. You can see where this is headed. I remember him playing the Shadow Winter level and just running around kicking ass. I wanted to play it so badly, but I never got the chance. As the years progressed, I never saw or met anyone who had played Sonic 06. But as time progressed, there was hype for the next one, Sonic Unleashed, and it sure as hell beat Sonic and the Secret Rings. Still, upon first playing Sonic Unleashed, I wasn't a big fan. I was so used to the way that Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2 had controlled, with being able to just run and zip around in any direction, that it was a bit jarring feeling that Sonic played like a car. Gone are the days of zipping around in any direction, and now you go in a straight line, albeit with different paths, and sometimes you go to the right. Different isn't bad at all though. Nowadays, I actually quite enjoy the boost formula, as it's been dubbed by the entire community. Still though, as a kid, it was quite jarring. What I didn't know at the time was that there was a reason why Sonic Unleashed was such a vast departure from what had come before it. What I didn't know was that Sonic the Hedgehog, or as the internet dubs it, Sonic 06, was a failure. Now I know I have a knack for defending what some would call indefensible, Bubsy moment, but I want to preface this by saying Sonic 06 is unfinished. It's buggy, the story is muddy, the graphics, if I'm being honest, look like shit, but most importantly, it's unfinished. But with that being said, finding out that the game was generally hated by most audiences was actually a shock to me. Even as late 2010 rolled around, I was still under the guise that Sonic 06 was the last good Sonic game. Crazy, I know. It is silly, but consider this. I didn't finally play the game until 2021 during our first Sonic month, and I liked it.
Oh, we got a 1-up, so who the fuck cares? Let's go!
I beat the game in 3 sittings, 1 day for each hedgehog. The game has a lot wrong with it, but I will still argue that Sonic 06 marks a divide in Sonic the Hedgehog as a franchise. Before, when the games had these epic, bombastic stories trying to top each game after another, and after, when the series became homogenized, story-wise at least, each game tried to rectify the mistakes of the last by completely muddying the vision of what Sonic looks like, plays like, and feels like. Now, this isn't a full Dano Logs retrospective or video essay, rather a lesson on perspective and my own personal experience with this infamous title. The game is pretty much a culmination of every 3D Sonic game that came before it. You get the hub worlds from Adventure, the weight of the story from Sonic Adventure 2, different playstyles and multiple stories similar to the Adventure titles, support characters from Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes, and Shadow the Hedgehog, and CG cutscenes that match the level of quality seen in Shadow the Hedgehog, the game that had released just a year prior. But with that being said, there were clearly moments in the game that either the budget ran low or because of time constraints.
How long is this gonna go on?
There should have been some pretty high budget cutscenes. We did not get that here. So what made it fail? That damn release date. 2006. Nowadays, it's synonymous with the name of the game. 2006 was the 15-year anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog as the franchise. And Sega really wanted this game out the door to not only launch side by side with the new consoles that were coming out, but also to launch in part with, but also to release in commemoration with the 15th anniversary of the franchise. Similar to how Sonic Adventure 2 was the grand epic that marked the 10th anniversary of the franchise. Now, I don't know the insider scoop or details, and I don't know if we ever will. I don't know if you can find it online. But Yuji Naka left Sega and Sonic Team about halfway through development. So not only were they working on disgusting crunch, the what people called father of Sonic also left at this time. Now, both of these are sort of part of the next problem with the game, which is that story. What a mess. The story beats are very questionable, ranging from confusing to even more confusing. And then, of course, the game is fucking broken. The game was released in a buggy, broken state. It's bad, and there's no doubt about it. But hearing the title of this video, I don't want you to go and think, oh, I think this game is actually an undisputed masterpiece. No. The game released in a bad state, in an unexcusable state. But that's not the problem of the developers, it's not a problem of the voice actors or the people that worked on the game. It's a problem with mega corporations thinking about money first before the product, thinking about how they can get the most out of a dollar without thinking about the repercussions of their actions. The problem is the motherfuckers in suits. And the reason why I call this an end of an era is because this was the end of what I would call the adventure era. Forget how they group them in Sonic Generations, with it being on the latter trio of levels. The truth of the matter is, yes, this was supposed to mark a new beginning for the franchise anyway, but I don't think the boost formula would have went the way it did without this game failing first. The effect that was seen in future titles is A, the creation of the boost formula. Now, of course, let's not ignore the big elephant in the room. Yes, the boost mechanic was actually introduced in a different title released in 2004, but we'll find time to talk about it soon, don't you worry. With the creation of the boost formula as we know it in the 3D titles, there was also the constant redirection based on fandom yapping. Less support characters, only Sonic playable until Frontiers, aside from the 2D titles. Sonic is about speed, no momentum, stories are too contrived, which ended up with a lack of compelling stories since Colors. Classic Sonic was great, so he's back in Forces now, and worse than ever. And the worst thing that I would say came out of all of this was the destruction of the Sonic canon. Before Sonic 06, remnants of events that had happened in the first trilogy were seen in Sonic Adventure. They were seen in Sonic Adventure 2, and sort of tied into that narrative of Gerald Robotnik and environmental storytelling within the arc, matching that of Lost World from Sonic Adventure 1, but also matching that of different runes on Angel Island from Sonic 3. You don't see this anymore. Now every game almost feels like it's in a completely different world. Different styles of humans, sometimes no humans. Sometimes Sonic is completely alone, sometimes his friends are there, sometimes the government shows up. Now the government's defunct. And here we are, 2024. We're 2 years removed from Sonic 06 being 20 years old. Trying not to have an existential crisis here. We've had some big blunders in the Sonic franchise since 2006, but I don't think as we go forward with Sonic as a brand, that there will ever be a blunder big enough to match that of Sonic 06. Because this game was fucking bad. There will be no other Sonic title that marks an end of an era. See you guys next time.